Hello, Lisa.
Do me a favor and say just a few more words just to make sure your sound is okay. But your camera, everything looks good.
Okay, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, sounds good. And then just be able to mute yourself when you're not speaking as well.
Perfect, yes.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Pretty excited. I love the reentry stuff. I think I was at the conference a couple of years back in maybe Finley it was, or
Okay,
church person.
terrific. I'm going to turn off my camera until somebody else comes on. I'm trying to clean some things off my computer before we get started.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, Amy.
Hello there, how are you?
Good, good. I was going to have you test your audio, but you sound perfectly wonderful.
Oh, good, awesome.
Good, good. And just, I'm sure you're used to using Zoom by now, but just be able to, turn yourself on mute when you need to, since we'll have so many panelists.
Of course.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I can hear you, but I can't see you yet.
There I am.
Good. And then Stephanie, the only thing I want to make sure, ooh, I love that you got your whole living shirt on.
Yeah.
Make sure you're able to mute, quickly for when you're not talking. I'm not sure how to do that on the phone.
Oh, yeah, it's right. It's on the bottom. It's on the bottom
Okay.
of my screen. Yeah.
Awesome. And then we're still waiting for one panelist. I'm going to see if I can give him a call real quick.
I was going to go in and check in fast and sit down. Is that okay? I'm just going to mute myself.
Well, we're going to start in 2 minutes.
Are you? Okay. Okay.
Yep.
I'll wait.
Hi, Cameron.
All right, there we go. Hi.
Hi there.
Hello.
All right. I've got all 4 of my panelists here. Cameron, will you say just a few words again, just to make sure your sound is okay?
Hello, everyone. I'm Cameron Williams. I'm with Oxford House in Ohio.
Sounds perfect. And Cameron, just be able to mute when you need to, since we've got so many panelists and participants today. We'll get started in just 1 minute. I can see that people are still connecting. Thanks for being here, everyone. Hi, Sean Stover. You got a whole crowd there. Hello,
We got
Athens.
a few. We got a few.
That's awesome.
We got snacks.
That helps. That helps. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This session today, oops, see, got to pull up my notes here. I thought I was prepared. This session is called Increasing Opportunities for Recovery and Sober Living Housing in Your Community. I'm happy to be here to help guide our conversation on this important topic. My name is Lisa Morgan. I am a reentry coordinator for the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. I work out of our Office of Reentry, and I cover Central Ohio. So there's actually 8 of us reentry coordinators around the state. A big part of my job as a reentry coordinator is to connect people who are coming home from incarceration with resources in the community. And as you can imagine, people coming home from incarceration often need help. finding safe, affordable, stable housing opportunities. That's a challenge for many people, and not just those coming home from incarceration recently, but many of us struggle with that. So all throughout today in this community experience, we're talking about opportunities for increasing housing opportunities. This session specifically, we're going to talk about increasing recovery housing and sober living opportunities in our state. And we have 4 panelists today, so I'm happy to introduce them. Jacob Spellis is with Vital Health, Amy Parker with Sunstone, Cameron Williams with Oxford House, and Stephanie Van Bibber with Whole Living Recovery. So the first thing that I would like to do is ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves briefly, tell us your name, what you do with your organization, and briefly describe your organization's housing model and how recovery fits into that housing model. Let's start with Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. So my name's Stephanie. I work for an organization in Newark, which is in Licking County, called Whole Living Recovery. We are a level 2 recovery house. So we have house managers. We are Ohio Recovery Housing certified. And then we have case management, and things like that. You know, we don't offer the programming per se in our homes, but we do have peer support, case management, things like that. We have 4 houses, 2 women's and 2 men's. And you know what really makes us, I think, unique is we run our organization like a family. We are a nonprofit. You know, my phone never turns off. I'm available, you know, all the time. So we really do. We treat each other like family and our residents like family.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Cameron.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cameron Williams. I am the outreach coordinator for the state of Ohio with Oxford House Recovery Housing. Briefly, just to kind of give you a little snapshot of what Oxford House is. So we are single family houses that we have about 3,500 houses worldwide at this point. We're in 47 different states. All of our houses are fully self-sustaining and self-supporting recovery homes. Currently, we have houses in Toledo, Dayton, and Cincinnati. Our houses are protected by the American Disabilities Act, which basically allows us to go into any neighborhood. We fit more into that level 1 housing. We do not employ staff members to govern our homes. The individuals in the homes govern the homes. There is no timestamp on how long you can stay or how little you would like to stay inside of an Oxford house. And all of our houses are governed by a manual that was written by our CEO in 1975, who worked on Capitol Hill, and who had addressed the need for safe and supportive recovery housing in quality areas of the community. That manual governs the home, which basically there are 3 charter requirements that every house adheres by. So 1, each house is democratically ran. So that means each person inside of a home has an equal say of what goes on in the house. They pass motions, they hold positions very similar to any board. So you have your treasurer, your president, your secretary, your comptroller to ensure that the overall functions of the home are being completed. And they have weekly business meetings where the discussion of a motion might come about in their house meeting, where whatever the majority of the vote is the house's decision, as long as it aligns with our traditions and guidelines that are in our manual. So that is the first charter requirement. The second one is that they must immediately expel anybody that is returned to use. Since we are not a staff-ran environment and we do not have medical staff on site, we are not able to medically support an individual that is returned to use. So we need to make sure that we get them to the level of support that they need so that they can come back to us. We would never make somebody homeless. We are always there to develop relationships in the community to support that individual if relapse has became, part of their treatment or part of their addiction cycle. And then 3, that each house is fully self-sustaining and self-supporting. So each individual pays the exact same amount. The average weekly rent is around $130 a week. That covers all their living expenses. The individual would need to be either on SSI, disability, or willing to get a job. We will allow them some time to get a job, and we are an evidence-based model. We are actually the only evidence-based SAMHSA recognized recovery housing model. And we, as well as NAR, which is the certification for the state, sat down and created the national standard for recovery housing. So we are now written into legislative different documents showing that we are certified in the state of Ohio. And we are actively working to produce a staffing contract so that we can expand our model throughout the state. And just to kind of wrap up, because I know I'm here, since this is a reentry specific meeting, our national profile is an 85% jail time reported to their addiction. So those out of the 3,500 houses, we do an annual survey, anonymous, and 85% of those have said that they had experienced, incarceration, 71% of homelessness, and then in the state of Ohio, 52% of those are reentry related, and 4.3% have came directly from incarceration in the state of Ohio. And that's my spiel.
Thank you so much, Cameron. Amy, would you like to go next?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great, Cameron and Stephanie. My name is Amy Parker. I'm the Director of Communication and Engagement for Sunstone. We are a brand new recovery housing in Cincinnati. We created a new model and approach to recovery housing. Our approach is integrated, and we work hand in hand with outpatient addiction treatment providers. And so our folks that come to us are primarily utilizing medication-assisted treatment, but it's also not required either. What is required is that they attend their treatment services. We also allow them the freedom to choose whatever pathway of outside social support they would like, meaning 12-step or Celebrate Recovery or Smart Recovery. So we do have a campus and we have townhouse condos. They hold 5 individuals each. So they are for men and women, but not co-ed. And ultimately, we will have 60 beds once we've renovated all of our units. We have a few available now, and we've furnished everything with brand new IKEA furniture. So it's a really nice place. We're very excited about that. But our focus, is working with people who are utilizing outpatient addiction treatment services, and then also working with folks who are coming out of prison and jail, especially. And we have a funding source that, with our model, that pays for the first 90 days of housing here at Sunstone. And so that really gives people the time to secure employment and start to get some paychecks in and get some financial independence and stability underneath of them before they're required to start paying their fees. And so with that said, let's see, I lost my train of thought here. Oh, sorry. So if an individual does relapse or have a one-time use, our model is that we're not going to kick them out immediately, right? We want to work with them. And because we work closely with the treatment providers, we're going to get the treatment provider involved, and we're going to come up with a plan with everyone involved, including our resident. And that could mean that we're going to put them on restriction. That could mean that we're going to require that they start to attend outside social support meetings and get a sponsor, or gain another peer recovery supporter. And it could mean that they need to go and do withdrawal management or even inpatient. And we'd like to continue working with them as long as they complete those requirements successfully, of course. But we're just very excited for this new opportunity and everything that's happening. And I was just made aware that we just got preliminary certification through Ohio Recovery Housing today. And that is it.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And I'm definitely going to ask more questions about that. We're going to talk about funding and we're going to talk about certification because I know people are going to have questions about that. All right, Jacob.
Yes, thanks for having me. My name is Jacob Spellis, CEO of Vital Health, and I would say we work primarily with sobriety houses, halfway houses, wraparound model, the cool little lingo. But we do provide integrated care. Kind of our motto is, doctor, case manager, social worker, patient always in the middle. And we provide, more holistic care, in my experience, especially as a, convicted felon myself, you go see one of the doctor and, 3.4 seconds, you're on 4 medication, you have no idea what they said. Whereas, we built a model where, my staff only have 10 to 15 people on their caseload. The doctor sees every patient for at least a minimum of 45 minutes to an hour, with housing being one of our criteria. We work a lot with private landlords. We got a pretty good model where, we don't really look into funding and stuff, but, on the back end, we've been pretty successful just finding people employment and getting housing, for people less than 45 days. I'll tell you the people that want, some housing, you guys know some of the difficult cases here, but, most of my staff are people with records. So, we're pretty flexible too. I like to get people in groups and stuff, more one-on-one intention where, we get them into employment seems to be the fastest thing, where we get people into jobs seems to be just the quickest things, and is not my goal there. So, we try to provide more services for each and every individual here at Vital Health, and really follow them into the community, and, as myself, an individual, like we we're talking yesterday, Lisa, where people told me how to make a resume. I never even heard of the word. So, we walk with our patients with them every step of the way. So, we have a lot of patients that struggle with that. And I think, our best practices, we're also working on like a 50-bed reentry center here in Toledo here soon next year. So I'm pretty excited to focus on that. I don't see a lot of, you have sobriety houses that we see here, but we're trying to really focus on the reentry population. We got a lot of halfway houses, which are correctional based, behavioral, but compliance doesn't equal change. So we're trying to change the game there, where we support both the family can get treatment and children. So we service both children. We got clients as young as 6 all the way up to 106. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's terrific. Thank you all so much for telling us a little bit about your organizations. That definitely helps us get started. It's really been interesting to me. I don't specifically work in the recovery world, and it's been interesting to me just learning that there are very different models of recovery housing and sober housing out there. So I'm glad to have an array of offerings here today. Stephanie, so I wanted to ask you this. We all know, I don't think anybody's going to disagree that access to affordable and safe and stable housing is important, but is that enough? Like, tell me, why is recovery housing important? Why is sober support so important when we're talking about housing?
So when I came into the recovery house that I now work for, it gave me a safe place to work on my recovery. Like I mentioned, we don't offer any programming within our houses, so we have to really link with our community partners. And it's a lot, it's a lot to handle at first when you're first coming in. So no matter, the whole reason that the founder opened this was so that people in early recovery had a safe place to go back to, with that support, with like-minded people, that is going to be safe from somebody, let's say, using or drinking or something like that. We are a no tolerance organization. So if any of our residents do relapse, I have to, at that moment, no matter what I'm doing, I have to transition them from our home to whatever their emergency plan is on intake, because we have to keep the rest of the house safe at that point. So yeah, it's just that support. It's just having a safe, clean, place to really start, digging in and getting better.
That's terrific. And I like earlier you mentioned the environment being a family environment, that you're a family there. And I can see that that would be very important to people.
Oh, for sure. You know, we have a lot of residents that, you know, either they burn bridges or they don't have family at all. So
Yeah.
so that's just really important, that commitment, you know, to being that support system for people that don't have it.
Terrific. Thank you, Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob, you described kind of an array of services that your organization offers your, I don't remember if you called them patients or clients, but you talked about recovery support, mental health, you know, physical health, employment help. How do all those things, how are all those things involved in helping someone find safe and stable housing?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, no, it's kind of gets confusing on our end too. So we offer, you know, the main vision was to provide people with Medicaid insurance, you know, the most top quality care. You know, I just remember as a kid, you know, going to 50 different PCP or going to you can never get in a dentist with Medicaid or something. So it's, you know, as a business owner, you know, I wanted to provide top quality care despite your insurance, or, you know, me myself getting out of prison, you don't have insurance, you know, nobody wants to mess with you. So, you know, I'm glad to take the hit when we get out, sign them up for Medicaid, and, you know, figured out the rest later. So, you know, my doctor and I have worked together. So one part of our business is primary care. So we're a type 21 provider for that. We're also type 84 community mental health. So, you know, let's say somebody comes in, you know, most people trust the doctor the most and they've never treated a trauma. So immediately when somebody comes in, and unfortunately, we see all the time, like I was sexually abused, immediately a therapist will be there with the case manager, or we see this all the time, you know, hey, I've been drinking too much, immediately roll into ambulatory detox. We don't do anything like Subox or anything, but we do have Sublocade. So sometimes people get kicked out of a treatment center, you know, for whatever reason, and they can get on the shot within like 3 to 5 days, Vivitrol and stuff. So we really have an integrated care model that I think is kind of unique as it relates to housing. I mean, you know, without you being stable, you're not going to keep the house or pay your little rents and stay stable. So, you know, the first thing we do is get stable. And I'm all about speed. You know, if somebody's in crisis, anybody can book an appointment with the doctor within 2 weeks. You know, for primary care, anybody can book an appointment with therapist within a week. You know, we're really strategic who we take on. And then the next step is, you know, sending case managers to your house, you know, making sure you show up at your job. You know, because my clients, if they relapse, it's not like they're going back to prison for a couple of years, and then I'm talking to them on JPay and stuff of that nature. So it's really important. And to put them in a nice, safe environment. You know, we do work with you know, a lot of gang members, for example. So we have to be conscious of where we put them in. You know, I want them to shine and be in good neighborhoods. I know we've worked with a couple patients. I forgot the name of the facility, but where Cameron owns, and they're in nice areas like Sylvania and stuff. And we've been able to, I remember we had clients that came there, and I took one of their patients and they were fighting with the pharmacy, and they're like, no, your insurance is wrong. Your insurance is wrong. And I pulled out my insurance portal and we had to show them there, you know, and, you know, just really making sure they're complying with their medication. That's a huge thing as well. So any service, I think we're pretty hands-on with them. I take it very seriously, and their complaints and stuff. So that would be the main thing. And then making sure we do budgets with them. We have financial literacy course, which is always a hot topic, but you know, I bring in every resource I can. You know, I bring in my own personal accountants. I bring in my own financial advisors to teach them. I bring in mortgage lenders. You know, yesterday we had a pretty big car salesman in our area come, and he's gonna create a curriculum with them to teach people how to buy cars with terrible credit, which is you know, 99% of my people. So, you know, and they're always scared of the banks and keep their money in shoe boxes. So, you know, just trying to teach them everything. I try to give them every resources that I have. So I always take them in steps, because everybody wants to have a 401k first. It's like, guys, you don't even have a resume in depth, and you owe your baby moms hundreds of thousands of dollars. Let's get that first, then we'll get the rest of the stuff. So we have a case management model, like a 4-step model that we take everybody there through, so they don't get overwhelmed and give up. And work in stages of stableness, and physical health is really important. So when I speak, sometimes I get too excited and speak, but we do do have any service in outpatient services.
And I think that's so important, Jacob. You know, even if we could give somebody an apartment, sure, that'd be great. But without all of these other things and considering all of these other needs that each individual person might have, they're not going to be successful in that housing. So I appreciate you bringing that to light, that there's so much more that folks are dealing with beyond just having a roof over their head. Stephanie, I know your organization is fairly small and you're in a fairly small community. Tell us a little bit about how Whole Living has grown, because that's what we're talking about today, is increasing opportunities.
Sure. So when the organization was first started in 2017, she started with one women's house. And, you know, we're the only ORH recovery house set up like this in our county, period. So it was a need that the founder definitely wanted to address. So she opened up the women's house in 2017. Then I, you know, went through as a resident, started working for the organization. And then in 2019, yeah, so this was before COVID, 2019, we were able to open our first men's house. So we did that. And then this year alone, in April, we opened our second men's house. And then in August, we opened our second women's house. So we have seen a lot of growth in this last year for sure. And we're full. And we're full already with those two additions.
Yeah.
So
just because it's a small community doesn't mean the need isn't there. So that's terrific. Yeah. And then Cameron, you're kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. Oxford House is a national organization. So what has Oxford House done in Ohio to increase recovery housing opportunities for folks?
Sure. So we're actually worldwide now. We're in 5 different countries. So, which is absolutely beautiful. The beautiful thing about Oxford House too is that our houses, they replicate themselves, right? It's a safe and supportive environment in the communities that are literally there for people in recovery. We have absolutely no financial gain. On Oxford House side, Oxford House Incorporated possesses no capital of homes. These homes, the 3,500, are rented through local landlords or national landlords that purchase homes or have homes. And the homes are leased by the individuals that live in the home. And all of the money that is collected by the individuals that live in the home go to support the home. We as outreach staff are funded by either mental health or different kinds of boards. And so none of the houses pay us to basically do what they need to do. So when we're really, really proud to see that we've replicated in other countries because we don't have contracts in those countries. So that's literally people finding out about Oxford House and saying, I want to bring this to our community. As well as we are in 47 of the states, and we have contracts in 42 states, I believe. So that means that those other states, those are individuals working full-time jobs, working programs of recovery that are raising money in the community, like car washes and different types of events, to put down on a down payment to bring an Oxford House to their community with absolutely no technical assistance. So, you know, we're really, really proud of those numbers, and we're really proud that we're able to develop this and bring this to the community. So to answer your question, you know, the structure of our model, it's beautiful because as an outreach worker, I am a person with lived experience. I am a person that lived inside of an Oxford House. I am a reentry. So, you know, these are things that I can identify with and understand the barriers that individuals get when they're going into communities that are trying to, you know, restabilize. They've done either their incarceration time or they've, you know, went to their treatment and they went through all levels, which is needed. But then what do we do right at that last moment before they are, you know, thrown into an apartment by themselves and they have no support? Oxford House comes into play. So currently right now we have 11 houses in the state, and we're looking to double those numbers by next year. we provide a lot in the community. We don't just provide a bed. We provide a ongoing support, and like Jacob had said, our houses are beautiful quality homes. Our homes are anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 homes that are made up of 6 to 9 individuals that are close to bus lines, that have a bunch of individuals with lived experience. You might have somebody coming from, it's their first time getting sober, that has 30 days sober, and you might have somebody that just got out of 10 years of doing, long-term incarceration. They both are experiencing the same barriers, and they're able to sit down and they're able to discuss those and offer that peer support, which is what saved my life. So it isn't just a bed in the community. It isn't just a like a boarding house. There's so many different levels of support that go on and on and on. We just got back from our world convention, which we flew 2,500 delegates from around the world to Seattle to go to this yearly meeting where we do ongoing training, we do fellowship, unity, and just seeing people, being able to experience that. So most people have never even flown before, and this gives them a sense of pride, and not only to participate in events like that, but to be able to walk into a $300,000 home where they're responsible for their yard, they're responsible for the upkeep, and they feel a part of that, replicates their behavior, and it pushes them to do better in the future, to want more from themselves instead of going back into problematic areas. So when we really go into a community, we want to address a lot of situations. What does the support groups look like? Because our houses are not treatment. Our houses are a safe and supportive environment for individuals to grow in their treatment. We do not offer billable services. We do not offer any kind of on-site case management or anything like that. It is up to that individual to navigate that, which is why we want to connect with local partners and community partners so that they can go through that. So once they come to us, they can find their home group, they can find their sponsor and a schedule that they meet with every single week and work through their steps or whatever kind of programming that they choose to go through. And then when they decide to move outside of an Oxford house, then they have all that intact. They have a job that they're stable in. They have, their recovery is sound. And then when they move on, the only thing that they're changing is where they sleep.
That's terrific. Thank you, Cameron. Amy, you mentioned the Ohio Recovery Housing Certification. Can you talk a little bit about that for people who don't know about it? I didn't know much about it until you educated me.
Sure. So I'm still somewhat of a newbie. I come from the treatment world, but I do have some experience with a previous recovery housing organization who was already certified through the National Alliance of Recovery Residences, and then Ohio Recovery Housing does the certifying things, right? So with Sunstone just opening up in September, we were very lucky that Danielle Gray from Ohio Recovery Housing was able to come out and do an entire review, went through our entire model, our approach, asked us many, many questions to really dig deep and make sure that our model falls in alignment with their best practices. And then, touring our property, our campus, our units to make sure they're safe, stocked with Narcan and first aid kits, and smoke detectors are where they should be, and all of those good things. So it was really great to be part of that, and to know that when they came through, we had everything prepared and we were ready, and there were no changes that needed to be made, and we were very proud of that. So, in my opinion, I think it's important that all, especially level 2 recovery housing, should go through and be part of being certified through ORH to increase standardization within the recovery housing world, because with more standardization gives us, more ground to work with to create better funding mechanisms throughout the whole state.
I was going to ask that question. What is the benefit of being certified? And I think having that certification kind of attached to funding is definitely an important point. Are there any barriers to getting that funding, or I'm sorry, that certification?
Yeah, I mean, you just, have to make sure that you have everything, all of their requirements, and go through, everything that they want to see, and make sure that that's part of, your approach and model and homes. I think that it legitimizes, in my opinion. But also, ORH has a locator on their website. And so people can go on their website and look and see, is this residence certified through these entities? What services do they offer? I would think that anyone searching for recovery housing would look through that and feel that they are being directed to safe places.
That's a great benefit. Absolutely. Stephanie, you've been working with ORH a little bit longer than Amy has. What are some of the benefits that you see of having that certification? What support do they provide to organizations like yours?
So it's a kind of checks and balances thing. They come out and make sure that we are operating to the best practices, the best standards that we can. ORH offers, array of resources, training, webinars, the annual conferences, that will be coming up shortly. And just support, some great support system with Ohio Recovery Housing. It just, to me, in my eyes, it just kind of says, hey, it's this extra layer of accountability and that we're doing things the right way.
That's terrific. And I love that it's not just checking to make sure you're doing things correctly, but they're helping you do things correctly too, with those educational and support opportunities. I think that if somebody were part of a new organization or a growing organization, that would be a super helpful benefit. Cameron, you mentioned collaborating with local communities. You mentioned wanting to double the number of houses in the next year. Who do you need on your team to make that happen? Who in the community do you need to collaborate with?
Yeah, so generally, especially in successful states, for instance, Indiana, we have we're approaching our 100th house, and in Kentucky, we're over 100 houses. Right now, I am a team of one in the state of Ohio. Ohio is a newer state for us, so we are kind of, just developing the communities, establishing homes, showing the communities what we do, and kind of establishing our presence. And generally with that, we, start to acquire attention because we produce very good data. I mean, we, have an 87 national success rate for individuals that stay in our homes for 18 months. And that came from our DePaul University evidence-based study. And generally, when communities start to see that type of data coming from their communities, where they're seeing individuals' average length of employment are now raised, the individuals in our community, everything is doubling. So they want to be a part of that. So we work with mental health addiction boards. We work with different kind of reentry coalitions. We work with just a slew of different places, tons of different treatment providers, landmark recovery, praxis recovery. We don't have any barriers for individuals that are coming into our homes. We allow MAT, any kind of supervising type of agency. So if individuals are on home detention or whatever the case may be, so whatever those community partners do, we just need to develop those referral sources, because again, we need as many community supports as we possibly can have, especially when it comes to recovery housing, because we all know in this field that sometimes the first person's experience with recovery housing isn't going to be their last. So we need to make sure that we are being as collaborative with each other as we can be. So them as well, discharge planners, case managers, different discharge nurses in emergency rooms, but really kind of that funding source that provides the technical assistance aspect of our position is really who, that's kind of what triples the numbers in the communities. Right now, we are sitting down with the department in a couple different counties to talk about, what does that look like for the state of Ohio. So we're super excited about that. And generally, once we produce like a staffing contract or something, then those numbers start to double. If not, then like right now, I get probably on average about 10 calls a week from individuals in communities that are saying, hey, I've heard about Oxford House. Do you have one in Youngstown? Do you have one in Cleveland? Do you have one in these eastern rural communities? So that kind of puts it on my scope. I start to look and develop those communities and then potentially open up a house there. So it just kind of, it's all about this, the communication, the connection, talking with other individuals.
That's awesome. We do have a whole room of people in Southeast Ohio on this session today. So hopefully that'll be a good connection for you. Amy, what about you? Who have you found it's important to collaborate with as Sunstone is just kind of getting up?
Yeah, so we collaborate with outpatient addiction treatment centers. Brightview has been our primary collaborative, provider. And the reason for that is our entire staff comes from Brightview, myself included. But our other partners are employers, and then also places like St. Vincent de Paul, where our residents can go and get a clothing voucher, same day, and get some things that they need if we don't already have what they need in our recovery closet. And then same thing with partnering with the courts and probation officers is huge for us, because and we all know that there's a big communication gap. And when we have great quality relationships with the probation officers and the court staff, and our residents need advocated for, or they need us to help fill gaps so that they don't fall into them, those relationships are key. And I believe that the way that we've developed these relationships are going to definitely create improved outcomes for all of our residents. And we're going to see some really, lifelong successful long-term recovery.
Earlier, Amy, you mentioned that you have a partner that can help pay for someone's stay initially. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, so we do have a partner, a nonprofit partner called the Foundation of Recovery. And the foundation pays for up to 90 days of housing with Sunstone, exclusively with Sunstone. But that funding is also a way for us to develop quality data. And I like what Cameron said, data is extremely important. And, we want to use this data to show the impact of having the integrated approach. And for folks who are in recovery housing for the first 90 days, they're also in outpatient treatment during those 90 days. Their housing is covered. And we want to see what those improved outcomes look like so that we can take that to the state and say, let's make recovery housing part of the continuum of care, include that in recovery services, and let's have Medicaid help us out. Because we see, the cost of Johnny cycling in and out of inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, and the cost that is incurred every time coming back. How about we close all those gaps, right, and create something where Johnny can be super successful, have some grace if he falls down a bit, and have that wraparound support, and really help him learn how to transition into self-sufficiency.
Thanks, Amy. Stephanie, I know you are also able to link your residents with financial assistance for the first, their first bit of their stay at Whole Living. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. We bring people on in to our homes on a phase system. We partner with our local mental health and recovery board for SOAR dollars. So we bring people in, like if they come to us from like an out of town treatment facility, or they came from a treatment facility in town that didn't allow them to work, so they have no income, we bring them in on a phase one, which the mental health and recovery board will subsidize their rent. Then after they start pushing them to find some type of employment, it doesn't need to be 80 hours a week, but we got to start working. So once they start getting a paycheck, then we bump them into phase two, which means the mental health and recovery board pays 200 of their rent, then we subsidize 200 of their rent. And that phase two goes on for 3 months, and then we stair step them up to where the resident pays 300, the mental health and recovery board pays 100. So they're starting to subsidize less and less. And then once they go into phase four, they're paying the full amount, which is 400 a month. We've just seen, where it helps them be able to better prepare for when they do go out, transition out, to be able to pay rent. So it's not such a jump, from a very small amount to a larger amount. However, unfortunately, rent nowadays is skyrocketed. So, that's a barrier as well. But our residents at any time, like we had a resident that had COVID, so she was in our phase four, but then she was able to apply for rent subsidies and get help again. So there is help if they're doing, the next right thing.
That's terrific. What a wonderful support to have, so somebody can focus on their recovery and
Right.
not have to worry about getting that rent check in.
Yeah. And it's like, we've never asked anyone to leave because they couldn't pay rent, I tell them there's nothing that we can't work through. We got to figure out what the problem is and, move forward with it.
That's terrific. So I'm going to ask one final question of the panelists, and then we'll see what our participants are thinking. So if you had to pick one thing, just one thing for the collective we here in Ohio to focus on in order to increase safe, stable, affordable recovery housing, what would it be? And you can answer with just one word if you want. We're not going to solve the problems, but this will help us identify it. What would you focus on?
Funding.
Funding, okay. Cameron, what would you say?
I would also say funding.
Funding.
Yes, I would say from different mental health and different like Adams boards, and as well as just the increase, we would really like to increase our reentry applications. That has been kind of my focus. So, just collaborating more with case managers and discharge planners in institutions would be a huge success for us, as well as funding.
Terrific, thanks for that. Jacob, what about you?
I don't know. I don't want to say funding, but I would say just more access. I don't know. I feel like more access to people who have criminal records would be one thing, and then more safer environments. It seems like in our community there is access to stuff, but like more professional housing. Like there seems to be some housing that's available, but they're not safe. People are dying in the houses. It's just more safe, more certifications, and looking into this ORH stuff. Right now. Also more funding, but more wraparound services for the housing and stuff would be my input.
Thank you, Jacob. Stephanie, what would your answer be?
My answer would be what could we do as a community to figure out how to get our residents to be able to transition on from our homes? So many barriers, records, prices. It's difficult. It's really difficult to try to find housing beyond us, and with the way our organization works is, that's our goal. We want them to transition out, of course, safely, so that new people can come in to the recovery house. So I think that's housing is just a huge issue.
Yeah.
What they do beyond the recovery house.
Stephanie, I think that's such a great point, because in this session, we're talking about, how do we increase opportunities for recovery housing? But you're reminding us that that's not the end of the road. Like we have to have long-term, sustainable, affordable housing for folks. Awesome. It looks like we're losing Amy. So Amy, just give me a shout when you get back in. Let me open it up to any of our participants today. Is there something that you learned today? Something that you didn't know about or that was super interesting to hear about?
Hey, this is Sean with Athens Reentry. I'm kind of a little dark here. But we had a question about with Cameron and with moving into different areas of Ohio. Is there a way that we have a person here that could contact him directly? Cameron, do you have like some information, or should they go online for Oxford House?
Sure. So I can give you a couple different resources and, of course, my information. Our national website is www.oxfordhouse.org. That website houses all of our, evidence-based study, any kind of publications, marketing. We were on 60 Minutes. The whole shebang is on there. And then if you would like to see all of the houses, we have oxfordvacancies.com. That acts as our search engine. So that has every house that we have listed. And if you go on there, it's a great resource because it will break down the individual houses. It will provide you the house's email. It will provide you the address of the home. It will give you if the house is either a men and children's home, a women and children's home, a men's home, or a women's home. It will show you the number of vacancies inside of the house. It will have the house's telephone number as well as the individual that lives in the house's telephone number. And in the right-hand corner, there is an Apply Now button. So if you guys have individuals that are currently in treatment or that are looking, they can apply through that link, and then they will complete an application, and then that application will be sent to whichever county that the individual selects. So it's a great resource. And if you guys would like to get a contact me directly, generally when I scout new areas, I always meet with, treatment, look at the AA, NA in the communities. I look at just different quality of life aspects of the city or the town that I'm in. And my phone number is 419-343-5445, and I can put that in the chat as well. And my email is Cameron with a K, Kameron .williams@oxfordhouse.org. And you can reach out to me directly. I can send you as much literature as I have and kind of get you started.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we have someone here with Survivors Outreach Advocacy Program, and they've been building their housing in this area and extending into other communities. A question for anyone on the panel, and we appreciate so much of what you are doing. This has been a great panel. One of the questions we have as an issue in Athens area or in rural communities is some neighborhoods or some people in neighborhoods do not want recovery housing or transitional housing in their neighborhood. Is there a way that you have found to overcome that? And that could be for anyone on the panel. And what's the best way to proceed? Is it best to just move on to another neighborhood or just keep working on that?
I know for holding recovery, we we have a good neighbor policy. Where our houses are located, we necessarily haven't, like our new house, we haven't exactly like disclosed that we're a recovery house yet, until we get established in the neighborhood. But I know, like with our first women's house, the neighbor there was very upset. She tried to, you know, get it shut down. And since we've been such a good neighbor, she's a huge supporter of our women's house. So we just make sure we go over that good neighbor policy with all of our residents. And, you know, there's oversight with the houses as well. So that's kind of how, you know, we combat it. But we've not had a lot of kickback from the community either.
So to kind of give you also another outlook on it as well, Sean, you know, with our houses, we are single family homes. So one of our houses in Toledo are right next to the Toledo mayor, the previous and the existing Toledo mayor. So we get a lot of this. We believe in treatment. We don't want it in the backyard type of mentality. With 3,500 houses, we really dominate communities pretty strongly, especially like in Indianapolis, we have 35 homes. In the state of Washington, just in Seattle alone, we have 100, I think, in 20 houses. You know, in Dallas, Texas, I believe we have 45 houses. So in certain areas, we really kind of go in, and these are things that you would definitely want to anticipate. You know, and what I would always say is make sure you have a legal team prepared, because there are going to be challenges. You are going to have different things. And again, go onto our website. We have won multiple Supreme Court cases, and all of those cases are listed on our website, which are different policies and legal citings that we've used to win these cases. So definitely use that and brief yourself with that. Our homes are protected by the American Disabilities Act that allows fair, equal housing. So there is really nothing that the neighbors can do, but like Stephanie had said, creating that environment of open communication with your neighbors and letting them know that we're not those people on the corner that are trying to hide, that we are there and we're going to be just like everyone else. We pay our property taxes, we keep our yard up. You're not going to have 15 people blaring music at 1 a.m. and have 1,000 trash cans and cigarette butts everywhere, right? Like, this is a stereotype that is brought in, and it's a part of that, overcoming that, is the outreach and allowing them to understand. What we do is we do open houses multiple times throughout the year where we'll invite the community in. We will provide a little resource table. We will do, you know, food and different types of fun activities. We do monthly chapter meetings, and we always invite our neighbors to come and attend those, just so that they can see that this isn't like an institution type environment. Like, we're just, you know, getting together, barbecuing in the backyard, and we're talking about recovery housing, you know? So, so if you have any other questions, definitely reach out to me, but we definitely know this challenge, and just make sure that you have an attorney when you guys are moving forward with that, just to prepare yourself.
I appreciate that. How about you, Jacob? Have you run into this, or?
I do have good attorneys, you know, but yeah, I think the best thing is showing, you know, examples. You know, I think you know, always be comfortable in uncomfortableness. You know, even like when I interview people, you know, regular civilians or whatever, you know, they'll start bashing on people, and I'm like, well, you know, they might change one day. So I think the best thing is just be transparent with the neighborhood and go there. You know, we have a couple of spots that we stay. You know, we try to have safer environments, but yeah, definitely. And then, you know, just being compliant. You know, I think it's just reading the laws. You know, is the best thing to go by.
Yeah, appreciate that. It sounds like you just kind of lean into it. You like you be active with your neighbors, you're positive, and set a good example. So appreciate the answers.
Yeah, I like conflict too.
Thank you, Sean, for those questions. Does anybody else have anything they want to share that they learned about or that they're curious about?
Here we go. Okay. Hello.
Hi there.
Hello. My name is Kelly, and I am starting a program through my church. It's a nationwide program as well, and it's Second Chance Sunday. And we are interested in helping people get re-entered into society, and we're located in Niles. And I would really like to get a little bit more information on how maybe we can start a house here, because I know that in the surrounding area, there's not too many places for people to get re-entered into society. And I myself did 10 years in prison and had to do 6 years on parole. So I know the struggle it is with addiction, but I also know what it is to be redeemed of your addiction. And also to have that strong background of working with a faith-based recovery, and also working with AA and NA. And myself, I work third shift and I'm a truck driver now, but I know that I had to work my butt off at Wendy's was my first job, and that I was able to move up and up and up and up. And I am more than willing to get in touch with somebody as far as how to lead people in a better direction, and think more positively about themselves. Because when you get out, you think, oh crap, what am I going to do now? And I don't know. And I had to pay child support, and I had to do all this, and I had so many stressors. And I understand that, that the funding and everything, I'm not exactly sure on any of that, because obviously I don't know how that all works, but that's up to other people. But I know that when I was in the work release program, and I know a lot of the funding came from just the prison system. So I'm not sure how any of that would work, but if anybody would be willing to work with me, then I would be willing to work with them. So,
Kelly, will you remind me, I'm here in Central Ohio. What county is Niles in?
it's in Trumbull County.
Okay. I can help connect you with our ODRC reentry coordinator, John Grzinczyk. I put my email in the chat. If you want to give me an email sometime today or tomorrow, I can connect you with John, and he would be able to connect you with the Reentry Coalition and some other resources up there that might be helpful as well. And I see Cameron did put his contact information in the chat as well. I think we lost Amy. She disconnected. But I believe everybody will receive some follow-up documents and contact information after this session. So don't let this be the end of the conversation. You know, reach out to the panelists, reach out to other folks who attended, so we can continue this conversation.
Absolutely.
That hour went quick, folks. That is our time. I just want to say thank you so much to our 4 panelists today, not just for your time today, but for all the hard work that you do working with people in recovery and coming home from incarceration. So it's definitely a community effort. So thanks to our panelists, and thanks to everyone for being here, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stephanie. I don't know how to work this stupid. I don't know.